My name is Natalie Brooks. I'm 33 years old and I'm an orthopedic surgeon. I finished my residency 2 years ago, then completed a fellowship, and I've been working at a level 1 trauma center ever since. For anyone who doesn't know, orthopedic surgery is bones, joints, ligaments, the things that let people walk, stand, hold their children, go back to work, or get out of bed without pain. It took 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of medical school, 5 years of residency, and 1 fellowship year to get here. 14 years after high school, I still have $287,000 in student loans. I drive a 2019 Civic because that is what responsible debt management looks like when you owe enough money to make your bank send emails with a tone of concern. I don't say any of that to brag. I say it so you understand exactly what my boyfriend of 8 months decided to turn into a joke for strangers. His name was Mason. Mason was a content creator. Lifestyle videos, outfit hauls, brunch reviews, day in my life clips, soft launch captions, dramatic coffee shop thoughts filmed through a window. He had around 14,000 followers and treated his platform like a career, which I respected. I held the camera for him. I waited while he took 37 photos of pancakes. I pretended to be surprised on camera when he surprised me with things he had already told me about the night before. I tried to be supportive. A few weeks ago, Mason came to visit me at the hospital. I had about 40 minutes between surgeries, and he said he wanted to bring me lunch. It was sweet. I was tired, hungry, and still half thinking about the next case. I met him near the staff lounge. I was in scrubs, my surgical cap still on, carrying a bottle of enzymatic cleaning solution and a container of sterile wipes. That day, we were short-staffed, so I had been helping turn over the operating room between procedures. I've never been the kind of surgeon who thinks she's too important to wipe down a table. The room has to be clean. The patient has to be safe. That matters more than ego. Mason laughed when he saw me. "Look at you," he said, lifting his phone. I thought he meant I looked exhausted. He snapped a picture of me holding the cleaning supplies. I didn't think anything of it. Mason photographed everything. Coffee cups, elevator mirrors, my shoes under restaurant tables, the back of my head while I read charts. 2 nights later, I was lying in bed, scrolling Instagram before sleep, when I saw his post. It was the photo of me, but cropped. You couldn't see my hospital badge. You couldn't see the surgical floor behind me. You couldn't see anything that explained where I was or what I did. Just me in scrubs holding cleaning supplies. The caption said, "When your GF works in sanitation, still love her though. Not everyone can be ambitious, babe. LOL hashtag couple goals. Hashtag honest boyfriend. Hashtag love is love." I read it once, then again, then a third time because my brain kept trying to protect me by pretending I had misunderstood. I opened the comments. His best friend had written, "Bro, you're too good for her." His brother commented, "At least she has a job, I guess." A random follower wrote, "King, you deserve a woman with goals, not a mop." Mason had replied to almost every comment with laughing emojis. Not once did he say, "She's actually a doctor." Not once did he say, "This is a joke." Not once did he correct the lie. And let me be clear, there is nothing wrong with working in sanitation. My grandfather was a custodian at a public school for 31 years, and he was one of the hardest working people I've ever known. That was not the problem. The problem was that Mason deliberately made me look small so he could look generous for loving me anyway. He created a storyline where he was the charming, successful boyfriend staying with a woman beneath him. For engagement, for laughs, for content. I sat there for almost 20 minutes, staring at my phone while he slept peacefully in my apartment beside me. My first instinct was to wake him up and ask him what kind of person does that, but I didn't. Instead, I took screenshots. The post, the caption, every comment, every reply. Then I did something I almost never do online. I commented, "Hey babe, just to clarify for everyone, I'm an orthopedic surgeon at the hospital. The cleaning supplies in the photo are enzymatic surgical instrument cleaners I was using while helping turn over an OR between my cases. I sanitize operating rooms so surgeons like me can save lives." Then I attached 2 photos. One was my medical degree. The other was my hospital badge, with my title clearly visible. Orthopedic surgery, attending physician. Then I put my phone down and went to sleep. When I woke up, I had 94 notifications. His post had exploded. Not millions of views viral, but enough that the comment section had gone from around 80 comments to more than 900 overnight. And people were not gentle. "Wait, he tried to clown a surgeon for engagement? She saves lives and he makes brunch reels. Sit down." You cropped out her badge? That's not a joke. That's insecurity. Imagine dating a doctor and pretending she cleans floors because you need content. His best friend deleted his comment. His brother left his up, but added underneath it, "Wait, I thought Mason said she worked for a hospital cleaning company. What the hell?" That comment made my stomach go cold, because that meant Mason hadn't just lied to Instagram. He had lied to his own family. At 7:15 that morning, Mason called me. I was already at the hospital, prepping for a 7:30 case, so I let it go to voicemail. His message was half crying, half furious. "Why would you do that to me? You humiliated me in front of my entire following. You could have texted me privately. I would have taken it down. You didn't have to make me look stupid." I listened to it, standing outside the OR, wearing my cap, my mask hanging loose under my chin, my hands already scrubbed raw from the morning routine. And all I could think was, "You made me look small first." I didn't answer until after surgery. Around noon, I texted him. "You deliberately cropped out my badge, lied about my career, and let hundreds of people mock me for 2 days. I corrected the record. If the truth makes you look bad, that isn't my problem." He replied almost instantly, "You're being dramatic. It was a joke. You have zero sense of humor." I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed, "Cool, we should talk in person." He replied, "Fine, tonight." And somehow, even then, some stupid, hopeful part of me thought he might apologize. I had no idea that the Instagram post was only the first crack. The real collapse was still coming. Mason arrived at my apartment that evening just after 7. I could tell he'd been crying. His eyes were red, his lashes clumped together slightly, but the second I opened the door, his expression shifted into something sharper, defensive, almost rehearsed. He walked past me without a hug. "No, hi." No pause. He sat down on my couch, crossed his arms, and said, "I can't believe you embarrassed me like that." No apology. Not even a hint of one. "My DMs are a disaster," he continued. "People are calling me a clout chaser. Do you have any idea what you did to my reputation?" I closed the door slowly behind me. "I corrected a lie," I said. He let out a sharp laugh. "It was content, Natalie. You don't understand how social media works." I leaned against the counter, arms folded, watching him. "Explain it to me then," I said quietly. He gestured toward his phone like it was evidence in a courtroom. "Everything online is exaggerated. It's storytelling. It's engagement. No one actually thinks you're just some janitor. It was obviously a joke." "Was it?" I asked. He hesitated just for a second, and that second told me everything. "You captioned it, 'Not everyone can be ambitious,'" I said. "You hashtagged honest boyfriend. You let your friends say you were too good for me. Which part was the joke?" He opened his mouth, closed it, looked away. Then, like flipping a switch, he pivoted. "You know what?" he said, sitting up straighter. "Maybe I wouldn't have to exaggerate if you were more supportive of me." I blinked. "What?" "You never promote me," he continued, gaining momentum. "You never post me. You never do couple content. I'm out here trying to grow something, and you give me nothing. I have to create storylines because you won't give me real ones." I stared at him. So now it was my fault. He lied about my career because I didn't perform well enough for his audience. "Let me get this straight," I said slowly. "You publicly misrepresented my job to make yourself look better because I didn't help you get enough views?" "That's not what I said." "It's exactly what you said." He rolled his eyes. "You're twisting it." "No," I said. "I'm hearing it clearly for the first time." There was a silence then, heavy, uncomfortable, the kind that reveals more than any argument ever could. I rubbed my temple, exhaustion catching up with me all at once. "I did a 6-hour surgery this morning," I said. "A teenager with a shattered femur from a car accident. I spent my entire day trying to make sure he can walk again. I don't have the energy to argue about Instagram captions like 'this is life or death.'" Mason's expression hardened. "So my career doesn't matter?" he shot back. "I didn't say that." "That's what it sounds like." I exhaled slowly. "This isn't about your career. It's about respect." He scoffed. "God, you're so dramatic." That word again. Dramatic. As if expecting basic honesty was an overreaction. I looked at him for a long moment. Really looked at him. At the way he sat there, arms crossed, waiting for me to apologize. At the complete absence of accountability in his face. "I need a few days," I said finally. "To think." His jaw tightened. "So that's it? You're just going to ice me out after you blew this up?" "I didn't blow anything up," I said. "I told the truth." He stood abruptly, grabbing his jacket. "Unbelievable," he muttered. "You really think you're the victim here?" I didn't respond, because for the first time, I was starting to realize something worse than being the victim. I was starting to realize I had been useful. To him, a prop. He left without saying goodbye. Over the next 2 days, something strange happened. Mason didn't delete the post, even as the comments climbed past 1,500. Even as the ratio turned brutal, easily 90% of people calling him out. He left it up. At first, I thought it was stubbornness. Then my friend Jason texted me, "Nat, check his stories." I opened Instagram, and there it was, a whole new narrative. Screenshots of mean DMs, with all context carefully cropped out. A video of him crying softly, talking about how one mistake was being used to destroy him. A text slide that read, "When your partner chooses public humiliation over a private conversation, hashtag toxic relationships, hashtag mental health, hashtag being online." I stared at the screen, something cold settling in my chest. He had pivoted. He wasn't the guy who mocked his girlfriend anymore. Now he was the victim of a cruel, prideful woman who humiliated him. And it was working. Not completely, but enough. Comments like, "He made a joke and she publicly destroyed him. That's abusive. Men will embarrass you before they communicate. Protect your peace, King." My phone started blowing up. Not from strangers, from his family. His mother called first. I picked up because I didn't recognize the number. "I will never forget this," she said without greeting. "You need to apologize publicly. Tell everyone it was a joke. You're ruining his brand." His brand. I closed my eyes for a second. "Your son posted a lie about my career to 14,000 people," I said. "I corrected it." "You humiliated him," she snapped. "He's worked so hard on his platform, and you destroyed it because of your ego." My ego. I ended the call before I said something I couldn't take back. Then came a text from his father. "Real women don't tear down their men in public. Handle your business privately." I stared at that message, a bitter laugh escaping before I could stop it. He handled my business publicly first. That's why we were here. But then, a different message from his sister. And this one was different. "Hey," it read, "I owe you an apology." I sat down slowly. "She told me you worked for a hospital cleaning company," the message continued. "I had no idea you were a doctor." My stomach dropped. "She's been telling all of us that for months." Months. I typed back immediately. "What exactly did she tell you?" The reply came quickly. "That you were a hospital sanitation technician, that you were working your way up, that you made around $38,000 a year, that you had some college but didn't finish." I stared at the screen. My degrees were framed on the wall in my home office. Mason had walked past them countless times. He had seen them, acknowledged them, celebrated them, at least to my face. And then he went to his family and erased all of it. I swallowed hard. "Do you know why he would lie like that?" I asked. There was a pause. Then, "He doesn't like being with someone more successful than him." Another pause. "He did the same thing with his ex." I sat there, phone in my hand, as something clicked into place. This wasn't a joke. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was a pattern. A deliberate rewriting of reality, shrinking the person next to him so he could feel bigger. And suddenly everything made sense. The caption, the comments, the complete lack of apology. Because in his version of the story, I was never supposed to be impressive. I was supposed to be manageable. I set my phone down slowly. And for the first time since this started, I felt something that wasn't anger. It was clarity. The kind that doesn't shout. The kind that settles quietly in your chest and says, "This is who he is, and you can't fix it." I sat with that truth for a long time. Long enough that by the time I picked up my phone again, I already knew what I was going to do. I waited until the next day to call him. Not because I needed more time to think, but because I wanted to say it once, clearly, calmly, without giving him anything he could twist into another storyline. He picked up on the second ring. "Natalie," he said, voice tight, "are you ready to apologize yet?" I almost laughed. Almost. "No," I said. "I'm calling to tell you we're done." There was a pause. Short, sharp, like the moment right before glass cracks. "What?" he said. "I found out you've been lying to your family about my career," I continued, "for months. You told them I work in hospital sanitation, that I make $38,000 a year, that I didn't finish college." Silence. 8 seconds, maybe. Long enough to matter. Then he said, "Who told you that?" Not "that's not true." Not "let me explain." Just, "Who told you?" I closed my eyes for a second. It shouldn't have surprised me, but it still did. "It doesn't matter," I said. "What matters is that it's true." His breathing shifted on the other end of the line. Faster. Shallow. "You're seriously ending this over a misunderstanding?" he said, his voice breaking just enough to sound believable. "I was going to tell them the truth. I just hadn't found the right time." 8 months? I asked quietly. He didn't answer. "I can't be with someone who's ashamed of me," I said, "or someone who needs to lie about who I am to feel better about themselves." "I'm not ashamed of you," he snapped. "Then why did you hide me?" Another silence. Then the deflection came. Predictable now. "You're overreacting," he said. "You always do this. turn things into something bigger than they are. There it was again. Dramatic. Overreacting. Too much. The words people use when they want to shrink your response instead of owning their actions. I'm not arguing about this, I said. I'm done. His tone shifted instantly. From defensive to desperate. Natalie, wait, don't do this, he said. You're throwing away everything we built. Built. Like this relationship had been something solid, something real. But suddenly all I could see were cracks. No, not cracks. Manufactured pieces. Edited scenes. Filtered versions of us that only existed when a camera was pointed in our direction. There's nothing left to build on, I said. I wish you well. Please don't contact me again. I hung up before he could respond. And just like that, it was over. Mound. For about 6 hours. Then the post started. It began with a story. Soft lighting. A sad song layered underneath. Text over a blurred background. When the person you love chooses their pride over your heart. Vague enough to avoid specifics. Clear enough that anyone following the drama knew exactly who it was about. Over the next few days, it escalated. A series. A narrative arc. How to heal after betrayal. Signs you were in a toxic relationship and didn't see it. When a man can't handle a strong woman. Except, he didn't say man. He said person. But the implication was obvious. The comments filled in the blanks for him. Men always do this. He couldn't handle your success. You deserve better, King. I watched it once. Then I stopped. Not because it didn't bother me, but because I understood something now. Every reaction I gave, every message I sent, every defense I made was just more content. Fuel. Engagement. So I gave him nothing. A week later, I got an email forwarded from the hospital's patient relations department. Subject line, concern regarding staff professionalism. My stomach dropped as I read it. It was vague. No patient complaint. No specific incident. Just a generic statement. One of your surgeons has been behaving unprofessionally on social media and creating a hostile online environment. No name. No direct accusation. Just enough to raise a flag. Just enough to create doubt. The email came from a throwaway Gmail account. But I knew, immediately. The phrasing, the tone, the way it tried too hard to sound formal. I had edited enough of Mason's captions to recognize his voice. He overused furthermore. He leaned on passive phrasing when he wanted to sound intelligent. It was him, or at least, someone writing exactly like him. I didn't panic, not outwardly. But something inside me shifted, because this wasn't about image anymore. This was about my career, my livelihood, the thing I had spent 14 years building. I forwarded the email to my department chief with a short message. This is from my ex-boyfriend. Here's the context. I attached screenshots. The original post. My comment. The timeline. Everything. Then I waited. He called me into his office later that afternoon. He's been practicing for over 30 years. Seen everything. Nothing surprises him anymore. He read through everything once, then leaned back in his chair. This is a personal matter, he said. It has nothing to do with your clinical performance. I exhaled slowly. I'll make sure administration understands this isn't a legitimate complaint, he continued. Focus on your patients. That was it. No investigation. No warning. No consequence. A non-event. But as I walked out of his office, one thought kept repeating in my head. He tried to take this from me. When he couldn't control the story anymore, he went after the one thing he thought would hurt the most. That's not immaturity. That's not misunderstanding. That's cruelty. 10 days after the breakup, he texted me from a new number. I almost didn't open it. But curiosity got the better of me. It was a list, itemized, like an invoice. $400, cologne set, birthday gift, $200, meals he paid for Bluetooth speaker. His, it wasn't, $1,200, emotional distress and wasted time. I read it twice, then a third time, just to make sure I wasn't missing something. He had invoiced me for dating him. I actually laughed, out loud. Not because it was funny, but because it was so absurd, it broke something in me. I forwarded it to my friend Aaron, who's a lawyer. His response came back in under a minute. I needed this laugh today. 0 legal standing. Block the number. So I did. But I also did one more thing. I boxed up the cologne, still unopened, because it smelled like a department store had exploded, and the hoodie he'd left at my apartment. I mailed them to his parents' house. No note. No message. Just a box. Clean. Final. 2 days later, my phone rang again. Unknown number, I answered, and the voice on the other end was his mother. You sent his things back in a box? She said immediately. You couldn't even return them properly? I leaned against my kitchen counter. Calm, tired. Your son tried to get me fired from my job, I said. I think a box is pretty civil. There was a pause. A real one this time. What are you talking about? She asked. And just like that, I realized something important. She didn't know about the email, about the invoice, about any of it. I looked out the window, sunlight catching on the glass, and made a decision. If I was going to be the villain in their story anyway, I was done protecting his version of the truth. Let me explain, I said. And for the first time since this started, I told everything. I told her everything. Not loudly, not emotionally, just clearly. Your son told you I work in hospital sanitation, I said. I'm an orthopedic surgeon. Silence. He told you I make $38,000 a year. I make $340,000. Silence again, longer this time. He told you I didn't finish college. I have a medical degree and a fellowship. My name is on the hospital's physician directory. You can verify it yourself. I could hear her breathing change. The certainty in her voice from earlier, gone. Replaced with something quieter, something uncertain. That can't be right, she said. It is, I replied. And he's been telling that story since the beginning of our relationship. There was nothing else to add. No dramatic speech. No accusations. Just facts. She didn't respond right away. Then, softly, she said, I'll look into it. And the call ended. I don't know what happened in that house that night, but I can imagine. Because the thing about lies like that, the kind that aren't small exaggerations but entire rewrites of reality, is that when they break, they don't just correct one detail. They unravel everything. A week and a half later, his sister messaged me again. Hey, she wrote, I thought you should know what happened. I sat down before opening the rest. Mom looked you up in the hospital directory. She confirmed everything. I let out a slow breath. Even though I already knew the truth, there's something about being believed that still hits differently. It got bad here, she continued. She confronted him. He tried the same thing, crying, deflecting, saying we didn't understand. I could picture it, perfectly. But this time, she wrote, she didn't let it go. There was a pause in the messages, like she was deciding how much to say. Then, she started asking about his ex. I leaned forward slightly. Because now none of it made sense, she explained. He told us his ex was controlling, that she tried to limit him, hold him back. Another message appeared. Mom called the ex family. I blinked. And guess what we found out? I didn't have to guess, but I still waited. He did the same thing to her. There it was. Clear. Clean. Undeniable. He told everyone she worked a lower-level job than she actually did. Made it seem like he was carrying the relationship. Same pattern. I closed my eyes for a moment, because that's what it was. A pattern. Not insecurity in a single moment. Not a bad joke. A system. A way of reshaping reality so he could always be the center. Always be the one who looked better. Who looked stronger. Who looked more valuable. The sister kept typing. Mom's not okay. She keeps saying she doesn't know what else he's lied about. Another pause. I love him. He's my brother, but I don't trust him anymore. That line stayed with me. Because it wasn't dramatic. It wasn't angry. It was tired. The kind of tired that comes from realizing something has been wrong for a long time. I'm sorry for my part in it, she added. I should have asked more questions. You didn't know, I replied. And I meant it. She didn't. But now she did. And sometimes that's all anyone can do. Face the truth once it shows up. As for Mason's brand, it did exactly what you'd expect. His follower count went up during the drama. Drama always brings attention. People follow chaos. They click on conflict. They watch stories unfold. But attention isn't the same as trust. And trust is what actually sustains anything long-term. His engagement dropped. Quietly at first. Then noticeably. The comments under his post changed tone. Less admiration. More skepticism. People still watched. But they didn't believe. 2 small brand partnerships he'd been working on disappeared. Not with announcements. Not with public statements. Just gone. Someone had tagged those brands in his comments during the fallout. Hey, you might want to check who you're partnering with. They did. They saw everything. And they walked away. I didn't contact them. I didn't need to. The truth has a way of traveling on its own once it's been set free. A friend sent me a screenshot a few weeks later. Mason's page looked different. Same face. Same aesthetic. But the tone had shifted. More self-reflection. More growth. Captions about learning from mistakes. About becoming a better person. About loving yourself first. Maybe it was real. Maybe it was another angle. I don't know. And more importantly, I don't care. Me? I'm fine. Actually, I'm better than fine. I'm back to what my life was before it got pulled into someone else's narrative. I work. I operate. Last week, I performed a total knee replacement on a 72-year-old retired teacher who hadn't been able to walk without pain for 3 years. When she stood up during physical therapy for the first time after surgery, she started crying. Her daughter hugged me and said, "You gave us our mom back." That's what I do. That's the reality, not the cropped version, not the caption, Not the joke, the real thing. I'm not dating anyone right now, and I'm not in a rush. But I do know this. The next person I'm with will know exactly what I do, and they'll respect it. Not because being a surgeon is impressive, but because honesty is, because respect is, because you don't shrink someone you love just to make yourself feel bigger. My student loans are still there. $287,000. My Civic still runs perfectly. My wall of diplomas hasn't moved. And the next time someone asks what I do for a living, I'll tell them exactly what I said that night in the comments. I sanitize operating rooms so surgeons like me can save lives. And this time, there won't be anyone standing next to me trying to turn that into a punchline.